Hello, everybody, and welcome to our panel, "The Future of Pokemon," where we talk about, the future of the Pokemon franchise, the games that are currently coming out, and what we think the franchise should be doing moving forward. Uh, I'm Max,
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Clayton.
and together we are the foundation for the preservation of Gen 1 Pokemon. So yes, we're just a bunch of Gen 1ers talking about, how Pokemon should be. But frankly, that's how society operates. So I don't really see an issue with that.
Yeah, and to start off, we're going to talk about when Pokemon was actually great. Yes, I mean Gen 1. Look at all these Pokemon. They were unique, interesting, the designs were complex, colorful, and really great. Not very, very different from what they did in more recent outings where we can't even call them Pokemon, it was so bad. Even in the most recent entry, Yamper does count though, he's an honorary Pokemon. But anyways, just let's look at the generations. We know Generation 1 was a pinnacle of Pokemon. Gen 2 was fantastic because not only did it add new formulas, it gave us more Gen 1. Gen 3 also great because they remade Gen 1. And Gen 4, honestly, like it's starting to go downhill a little bit, but it wasn't bad because they gave us Gen 2 remakes which had Gen 1 in them. So once again, we're doing good things. Then for some reason Game Freak took a vacation for a couple years, and we had Gen 6 and Gen 3 remakes. I mean, it's okay. Not they're kind of missing out though. And then we had Gen 7, and then there was a Gen 1 remake. But as part of that, we know what's coming next, and that of course the Gen 4 remakes. These must be working titles because I know for a fact that this is called Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl, not whatever was written there beforehand. And I think that, kind of given the trends, I'm not very hopeful because there's not a whole lot of good things going on here, right, Max?
There is exactly one good thing that I have to look forward to with Pokemon Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl.
Oh,
And that is that it should have a complete lack of Gen 5 Pokemon.
hmm.
No Snivvies, no Tepigs, no Oshawotts. None of that garbage is going to be in this, meaning it will be technically a real Pokemon game. I think that is all we have for compliments, though, right, Clayton?
I don't know about the rest of you, but I know I've got nothing but complaints about this game. First and foremost, the graphics. I know people were complaining about the Sword and Shield graphics. They looked a little better than the 3DS games, but didn't take full advantage of the Switch. Well, Game Freak has outdone themselves this time because this one doesn't even look as good as the 3DS release. That's right, this game is made using blocky models that an N64 could render with cheesy, overly saturated sparkle textures on the Pokeballs, and worst of all, a maximum display resolution of 144i. This game is going to look like how old school YouTube videos used to look, and it's going to be atrocious.
Oh, wait, I found my notes. There is one thing I'm slightly excited for. Because back in Gen 1, I loved the Team Rocket hideout with all those spinny traps. And Gen 4 did give us the Underground, where I can make my own hideout and put spinny traps in just a loop so someone gets stuck in there until they rage quit. That I'm actually looking forward to.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you're looking forward to that because I can't look forward to my favorite part of Gen 4 because they're not putting my favorite part of Gen 4 in this game because my favorite part of Gen 4 was the Gen 2 remake. That's right, the Gen 2 remake, which basically just remastered the greatest Pokemon generation, and that was Pokemon Generation 1 Brood War, which added the extra units. You know, you had Lugia, you had Lurkers, all the good stuff. And they also even added in those nifty little combat mechanics that made Gen 4 that were an improvement in Gen 4. So honestly, I'm upset that they didn't just remake Gen 2 squared. It would have been a much better use of time. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that Game Freak has the audacity to charge 60 US dollars, not Zimbabwe dollars, United States dollars, for remakes of Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl. Now, I didn't buy Diamond and Pearl back in the day. I was too busy waiting for Generation 2 Squared. But I know that these games sold for $40 back in the day, which some of you may say isn't a fair comparison. You're not accounting for inflation, etc. Fine. You know what? I did account for inflation. I did the math. $40 in today money is $51.65, which not only isn't all the way to $60, it's enough of a difference that you could buy a copy of Diamond or Pearl and a BTS meal from McDonald's. Because not only are chicken nuggets required for my enjoyment of Pokemon, they're required to be a real Happy Meal. If you look at the receipt for a Happy Meal with chicken nuggets, it'll say Happy Meal. If you look at the receipt for a Happy Meal with a cheeseburger, it'll say Misery Munch with cheese. And there's a reason for that. It's just not right. None of this is right. They should have just remade Gen 2 and I'm just done. I need a break.
Okay. So Clayton, just cool off, think of your happy place. You frolicking in a field with Rattatas or something. Just deep breaths.
My
So
happy
with
place
that-
is on the Goldenrod bullet train.
Oh, I mean, that's everybody's happy place. So with that, I think that we have enough information to give a score to Pokemon Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl. We don't need to wait for the game to come out. No, we've seen enough. We know where this is going. So without further ado, I release the first official score for Pokemon Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl. Throw it on Metacritic right now. 7.8 out of 10, too much Lucario. That's right. I'm sick of that hot topic dude Pokemon thing just hanging out and being there, and it bugs me. I don't like him. I never liked him. He's in, games I don't want him in. I just go away, Lucario. Nobody wants you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but as a kid, I watched a lot of Sesame Street. And I can promise you this transition makes sense. And in Sesame Street, they taught me a lot of things, colors, puppets, identifying Civil War veterans or whatever Bert is, and most importantly, how to count. And what I learned was that after the number 4, we get the number 5, which means as soon as Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl comes out, Game Freak's going to sit down and start developing the re-release of Pokemon Black and White. And frankly, I will not stand for that. So I am proposing we engage in Operation Ajax 2. It's a lot like Operation Ajax, but instead of overthrowing the democratically elected leader of Iran and appointing him and replacing him with the United States stooge who will sell us oil, we're just going to steal Pokemon Black White from Game Freak headquarters. I've convinced the U.S. military oil's involved, so they'll still help us, but there's not any oil involved. Don't tell them.
I'd like to call this stealing the declaration of Gen 5. And I think Nick Cage will give us his seal of approval because I think between the three of us, we might be able to last for a single day as a stunt double. Anyways, so we got the blueprints for Nintendo HQ. They're very complicated, but we managed to decipher the only way in or out is, of course, the front door. And so we also figured out where they're keeping Pokemon Black and White too. So now we need to plot everything out, plot our plan of how we're going to steal it. First off, though, there's the security guards at the front desk. They're very well trained, and they'll only let us pass if we have a fresh water, a lemonade, or a soda pop. And I'm pretty sure, Max, you're going to bring the backpack with those, right?
I did bring my backpack.
All right.
And unfortunately, I don't have any delicious beverages. But I do have this costume, if you wouldn't mind putting it on, Andrew.
Okay.
I think it's going to help us.
Sure thing.
Okay. So, Andrew, you are now dressed up as Sonic the Hedgehog. And as everybody knows, the Nintendo security guards do have a kill on sight order for Sonic the Hedgehog. So, you are now just going to run away from them really quickly and get beaten to death. And while that happens, Clayton and I are just going to stroll right on through. Right, Clayton?
Yeah, sorry, buddy. I'd give you some rings if I had any, but I'm fresh out, unfortunately.
And if I had rings, I would have used them to get, lemonade from the vending machine outside. Anyway, so now that Andrew is being brutally murdered in front of her very eyes, Clayton and I are going to, do a nice crabby walk up the stairs. And then we hit our second obstacle, which is the camera system within Game Freak's headquarters. Now, the good news for us is they didn't IV breed the cameras properly, and they have a 0 in the stat for detecting cartwheels. So Clayton and I will cartwheel down the hallway, get to the snack room, go into the snack room because first of all, there's a vending machine, and they've got some
That's
great
where it
lemonade.
is.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. And second of all, I heard Game Freak gives out full-size candy bars for Halloween, and I don't know about you, but I want to confirm that because if they're keeping those around, Clayton and I are going to come back for Halloween and get some full-size candy bars. I'm ready. They won't recognize me when I'm dressed up as like, I don't know, bug catcher. I'll be good. Anyway, leave the snack room, cartwheel across the hallway again, and then we get to the CEO's room. And the only way to get through the CEO's room is for us to start singing Jigglypuff's lullaby because that will always put him to sleep. So once we've got the CEO asleep, just gonna, walk on through and get up to the room where they keep Pokemon Black White. And I think that was it for the security measures, right?
Well, actually, there's one more I didn't tell you about, Max, and that's the laser fence guarding the master copy.
That
And
doesn't sound safe.
no, it's very much not safe. It is lethal to the touch. Actually, it just disintegrates your flesh. And not only that, it's a very very tight laser weave, meaning we can't even Seviper slip through it. So that option is right at the window. But fortunately, Max, there is one expense they spared in setting this up, which means it has a weakness we can exploit. And I'm gonna need your help for this.
Okay, I'm ready. How are we exploiting this thing? Let's get through it.
So it turns out that the battery they got for it only has enough energy to disintegrate one person. So
This is not a weakness I want to exploit.
you first.
I slipped.
All right. So with Max and Andrew regrettably out of the way, don't worry, guys. It was for the greater good. That's when I take the master copy in my hand and immediately sprint up the stairs to the helicopter landing pad on the roof of their headquarters. And that's when my man Pikachu, who's been with us this whole time.
Wait, Clayton.
Wait, we had Pikachu the whole time. Why didn't we just use him at the front desk? Then I wouldn't have had been beat to death by the security guards, right?
Yeah, and then we could throw Andrew through the laser fence.
They wouldn't have believed us. They wouldn't have trusted Pikachu dressed as Sonic the Hedgehog to be the actual thing. Nintendo security guards are well trained enough to know that.
Clayton has
You
a
guys are
point. Okay,
ridiculous. None of this plan makes any
Okay.
sense.
he has a
Okay.
point. Okay, I accept my death.
Okay, so once we're on the helicopter pad, that's when my man Pikachu, who is also our inside guy to get in good with Gandalf the Grey, is going to summon the Great Eagles, who are going to take us straight to Mordor. None of this cutting through Rohan nonsense, straight to Mordor. Because as everybody knows, the only way to defeat and destroy evil apocalyptic artifacts is by throwing them into the fires of Mount Doom where they were forged. Simple enough. I hand off the master copy of Pokemon Black and White to Pikachu for safekeeping because I figure he'll be more able to dodge any orcs we run into. Fortunately, the Eagles make it there without incident. We land and we run straight into the crack of doom. And right when we are there, when I say, Pikachu, cast it into the fire and destroy it, that's when the betrayal happens. Pikachu was not our guy on the inside. Pikachu actually got a fat bounty from Game Freak to do us in. And since I unfortunately did like 2/3 of the work for him already, all he had to do was Thunder Shock me and Iron Tail me until I stumbled over and fell into the crack of doom. So sorry guys, I got us all killed for nothing, and Gen 5 is still a thing. So humanity's doomed, and it's all my fault.
George Washington would be very upset with us. The three of us are split into factions here. And really, there's only one answer to this situation, and that is for us to Pokemon Unite together. That's right. We're talking about Pokemon Unite, the game that came out a couple weeks ago, I guess. It took me 2 weeks to realize it was out. So that's a ringing endorsement. But let's be honest, like a Pokemon MOBA, not a bad idea. And after playing Pokemon Unite, I'm really excited to see what other games can be done with this type of interface where we just kind of, run around as Pokemon, have charge moves for good attacks, have base attacks. I don't know. I'm enjoying my experience, even if I don't have any MOBA experience whatsoever. So, in order to properly cover this, I've been, keeping my ear to the ground, going through, the subreddit, finding out how people feel about Pokemon Unite. And I have found a common criticism that both the members of public and myself, a renowned Pokemon expert, share. And that is the representation within the Pokemon Unite game. The As you can tell, the intergenerational representation is terrible. First off, we have 4 non-Pokemon in here, which is just disgusting. Next, we have 9 kind of Pokemon, and then only 11 real Pokemon. And I just gotta say, that's not even 50% real Pokemon. I'm not sure how you can call it Pokemon Unite if it's, like Halfymon kind of there. That seems like the new title. Anyway, I won't rest until this is the full roster of Pokemon Unite, because that's going to be exciting. Imagine Hypno having a passive ability where anything around him that's asleep, he just like drains health from. Like a Hypno Wigglytuff combo could be amazing. And when it comes down to it, even Seeking would be more interesting than Cormorant. Let's be honest, no one likes Cormorant. Also, we got to talk about the map. Now, I know what you're saying, Max. This map is a circle. You've criticized Gen 5 in the past for having an uninteresting game map. And I got to say, this is still a better game map than Gen 5. First off, you have 3 options. You have the top lane, the jungle, and the bottom lane. That is already way more going on than most Pokemon Overworld maps. In addition to that, there are variable quests happening simultaneously. You can only interact with one at a time. Generally, prioritizing one means the other doesn't happen. You've got the legendary bird Zapdos in the middle. Only one legendary, so it's way better than most other Pokemon games in that regard. And I'm really happy with this. And it's got a lot more going on than even the Gen 8 game map, for instance. I mean, look at Galar. That's just some circles and a poor excuse for an open world area. And I got to say, I really hope that Nintendo takes the wild area concept and actually like fully bakes that idea and does something with it, because in Sword Shield, it's pointless.
Yeah, speaking of the next game we're going to talk about, the open world game that we hope they baked more. Well, first off, anyways, the name really needs some workshopping. Arceus, who cares? It's not the progenitor Pokemon. There we go. Pokemon Legends Mew. See, that much more appeals to me. But anyways, like this idea has a lot of promise. If they just make it Breath of the Pokemon, honestly, that could be great. Like just open world roaming Pokemon, like fantastic. All the work's already done. I don't know why they need years of dev time. Just take Breath of the Wild and slap on a Pokemon skin. Heck, I'd buy like 6 copies of that. One for each party slot. And I'm just really excited that it could be, but knowing Game Freak, it's probably not. Though I do have a couple hopes that they call back to the roots of the Pokemon Adventures manga and make things absolutely brutal. Like when I kill something with Slash, I want it to fall in half, man. And maybe we get to ride a Gyarados. Oh, that'd be great. Let's do it.
So now that we've discussed the games that are out or coming out, we need to talk about what our demands are going forward. Because we can only complain about Dull Diamond and Plain Pearl so long before we got to, bring ideas to the table and demonstrate that we are the forefront leaders of thought that Game Freak needs to hire. And as the first, second, and fifth biggest Pokemon fans of all time, I think our ideas are top notch. Idea number 1, more, cool Pokemon. Now, I appreciated that Gen 8 did do Galar forms of previous generations. I think that's a really good idea that Gen 7 introduced. I'm happy to see Game Freak continuing with it. Unfortunately, they did it for some Gen 5s, which is just a crime, but, whatever. Unfortunately, we didn't get the 3 I was really rooting for, which were Negaverse Furret, Alolan Typhlosion, and Millennium Xatu, who I think we can all agree would be the 3 best Pokemon ever designed. But I'm not here to complain about that. I think those are small potatoes compared to who we've really been robbed of. Now, in Generation 1, Nintendo took 2 of the greatest martial artists in the world and made them Pokemon in Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. And the thing is, they weren't the only ones in that pantheon of great martial artists. There were 4. And the third one was introduced in Gen 2, and that was, of course, a Beyblade. but there's still one that we haven't seen since, and that's frankly a crime. So I really want to know why Nintendo has yet to release Red Lobster as a Pokemon. I'm upset. This is a grave oversight.
So unfortunately, Max, I don't think we can actually add Red Lobster to Pokemon because Olive Garden owns the rights. But one thing we can add to Pokemon is a Pokemon that Game Freak has been teasing for the past 2 generations and still has not released. And of course, I'm talking about the one, the only Shrimp Stompora.
Clayton, we've been the ones teasing that Pokemon, not Game Freak.
Um, well, I mean, in that case, by now the audience should know that our opinions are objectively more correct than Game Freak's. So they should be treating it as if they were teasing Shrimp Stompora for the past 2 generations. But in any case, Shrimp Stompora would be a fantastic addition to the Pokemon world, as it would be the second ever water fighting type, which is a role that Poliwrath has been holding the fort on by itself for far too long, and has a diverse, rich move set, including such attacks as Stomp, Cheddar Bay Biscuit, which I don't know what that does, but I'm really craving cheesy biscuits right now. So there you go. Explosion, because it's like an explosion of flavor in your mouth with every bite of crispy tempura shrimp. Ska Attack, which is basically Sky Attack, but with less Sky and more Ska. And also Crunch if you prepare it correctly. By which I mean, you got to make sure the oil is hot and fresh. Otherwise, you won't get that nice crispy tempura batter. You'll get sludgy tempura. And that turns Shrimp Stompora into a poison fighting type Pokemon with the move Sludge, which is just far less interesting. None of these, however, stand up to the Z move of Shrimp Stompora, which is all you can eat shrimp for $4.99. That's right. For the price of $5.99, which is less than what 2 soda pops costs from the Celadon vending machine, you can force your opponent to eat so much delicious tempura shrimp that it uses the move Explosion right then and there, even if it doesn't have it in its learn set. That's super cool. That's literally a one-hit KO. Who isn't down for that? And that's not all. We've got its stat block, which is truly remarkable in that not only does it have 110 special defense, just like the entire rest of the Hitmon lineup, but it also has 110 speed, because you're going to need every single point of speed to make it to the bathroom in time once you've eaten that sludgy tempura and the food poisoning starts kicking in. So Godspeed and run like the wind.
Speaking of explosions, I think the Pokemon games need more explosions. Specifically, a reason for me to use Explosion more. Self-Destruct and Explosion came out in Gen 1, and then it took until Gen 8 for them to introduce a move that Vermin Supreme mastered in the 2007 Democratic Party debate, where he glitter bombed noted homophobe Randall Terry. So, Explosion, a Pokemon, self-destructing to do something, you can do a lot with that. And there should be a lot of different type variations. You can have a poison one with, I don't know, a base power like let's say 175, maybe 200, that will toxic the opponent. So even if they survive, they're badly poisoned. You could have an ice version that would be physical and freeze an opponent, a fire version that would be a special attack and burn the opponent, and then, of course, an electric version that would also be a special attack that burns the opponent and my parents' house down.
All right, our third demand for Gen 9 or whatever future of Pokemon is, they need to bring back the best parts of Gen 1. I am, of course, talking about speed-based critical hits and the Gen 1 misses, because nothing would spice up the competitive metagame like having the person who sets up their Pokemon be looking invincible, just completely missing and allowing their sweeper to get KO'd. Or those speed-based crits, so you actually have a reason to invest into speed past like what would make it reasonably faster than everything else.
Our fourth demand is to bring back Missing No. Not only will it give me more rare candies, which I desperately need, but it will also bring a much needed horror mechanic back to Pokemon. Once Missing No is unleashed into the real material world, not only will the Pokemon Hall of Fame be scrambled, but the NBA Hall of Fame will be scrambled as well. That's right, we're talking Michael Jordan winning the Stanley Cup levels of scrambling reality. If that doesn't shock you, absolutely nothing will, and you better hold on to those rare candies because no number of them is going to save you from what is to come.
Our sixth demand is we want a Rocket Edition. I remember as a wee child playing Pokemon Red Blue, and at the end of Nugget Bridge, you bump into a trainer who asks if you would like to join Team Rocket. And my first thought when talking to him was, yes, I would. That sounds great. Of course, it's a trick question. The game doesn't let you answer, and then you have to beat him up anyway, which is just mean. He wanted to include you in his friend circle, and you said no, and then you kicked his teeth in. Anyway, when it comes down to it, Ash's journey in a Pokemon game is a really boring, lawful good journey where you just go around and fight some criminals. There's no complexity in that. Imagine playing a Pokemon game where you play as Silver and have to steal your first Pokemon from a lab and then use it to infiltrate Team Rocket and take them over to like please your father who you haven't talked to all your life. That is a much more compelling character journey than anything Pokemon has ever presented to me. Plus, if I got to play as Team Rocket, I'd get to meet Jesse and James. Who doesn't want to hang out with Jesse and James and maybe do some crimes? That sounds great to me. Not sure why Nintendo won't let me do it.
Our seventh demand is to right this historic wrong that was just perpetrated upon us and switch Pikachu's no answer to yes. We're just going to sit Pikachu down with a pension advisor and let him know that he needs to adopt more of a boomer attitude. See, his generation has done very well for itself, is very wealthy, has its retirement fully funded, and should honestly just take the view that the other generations don't matter and they should just get off their lawn. It's really that simple, and it's going to save humanity a whole lot less grief once we actually get rid of Generation 5.
All right, and then our ninth and final demand is the N64 Classic. Because we've gotten a few other classic consoles and they've been great, but the N64 Classic has some real potential. And I'm talking, of course, about Pokemon Stadium 2. This was a pinnacle of my childhood, and if it was my pinnacle of my childhood, I know it must be for everyone else too, because that's how it works. But I think they don't even need to stop there. Instead of linking to Gold, Silver, Yellow, Blue, and Red, they need to just include Pokemon Crystal as just pack in, plays right on the system. I think that they'd sell every edition they ever made of that. I think it'd be great. Anyways, thanks for watching our panel.
Yeah, we appreciate it. KinYooBiCon, you've been great. We're really happy to have provided this content for all of you. We hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, we hope you follow us on Twitter at 5th Gen Not PKMN. We'd like to thank everybody listed here. We're not really going to go over them because, time exists, and I don't want to waste your time with that.
So but I do your own time reading them.
Yeah. Though, Andrew, credit to your mom. She did a much better job raising you than our parents did for us.
My mom makes killer banana bread, so I'm going to take exception to that.
I don't know. She raised that banana bread better than she raised you, Clayton. I'm just going to say it.
Go attack!
Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone.
Clayton's using the horns. I'm scared. Bye.
Peace.